Bottom of turn 6, wowzers, that was a big round. You can see quite a few Confederate reinforcements have arrived here. Heaton's cavalry have come on, crossed the river with the stream and the fence. The first unit unfortunately fell in disorder doing that. The other brigade is moving up to support the attack in the field over there. Both Confederate units went in here, but they were stopped short and volleyed, and they did quite a bit of damage with their volley actually. And now the Union is looking at decisively shaky in that area of the field, as they've got no reinforcements. Graham was hesitant. The usual firefight took place here. Kershaw's men crossed the stream and Brewster's boys bugged out and went back to the safety of the church. I think I mentioned this at the start. Brewster's hesitant, he's a dribbling mess. The 3rd Michigan in front there is coming under a lot of pressure. They had lost their fire discipline, they've taken 7 casualties. They've got this unit here in support, but Brewster's too busy drinking and won't order them up. Over here, Carrington's rode onto the pitch ahead of his brigade and gone, Jesus, where do I go? So he's hesitant as well. Ward is giving ground in the cornfield. His skirmishers evaded the Confederate charge. His guns are still blazing away. In the centre here, he managed to stop the Confederates coming in, but again they volleyed and did quite a bit of damage, and his 2nd unit is also starting to hurt. Over on here, the skirmishers that were really dishing out the pain are down to 1 wound left. They took some more canister and the odd pot shot from the worn out 11th Georgia there, and they're really hurt now. Over here, I think it's the 6th New York were forced off the fence by the charge of the Confederates, and Devon was hesitant, so he just couldn't really sort it out. And the 9th is hanging on, but they look like they're in serious trouble now as well. All the reinforcements are on the table, so Bennings has stopped worried about anything coming down this road and threatening his flank, so he's going full steam ahead here now. He's pulled back, you can see he's pulled back his battered 2 regiments, and his fresh 2 have come forward. Over here the guns are set up between the barn and the house, and they're starting to blaze away up at the enemy guns on the hill there. There's quite a few casualties are mounting. These boys here, the 8th Georgia are up to 5, and the 9th Georgia are sitting on 3. So they're starting to hurt, but it's still relatively fresh. Anderson's brigade is probably one of the better brigades next to Kershaw's as far as casualties go. There they are, progressing through the cornfield, and these boys are really starting to put pressure on Brewster. Hopefully Carrington can come forward and relieve this sausage farmer. There's Kershaw on the bridge and Hood standing behind him, and then we go down, and that's a look through the last of the fields as the Union come up, as the Confederates come up. Bottom of turn 7, a big turn from the Confederates. I think the Union actually won the turn. There was a massive firefight here, but nothing happened. Everyone lost their fire discipline. So no casualties really. Law was hesitant. He wanted his regiments to charge in, but he just couldn't get them to move. There's a couple of them that are pretty torn up, but there's also a couple in good condition. Robinson's bringing up his boys straight down the road. They're going to go straight down the road and into those guns or onto those boys in the hedge, because those boys in the forest now, they're sitting on 9 casualties, so they're looking dicey. These lines aren't moving here, and the back one is slowly getting a lot of casualties from the artillery stationed on the road. The cavalry's reformed, but their leader is a bit confused on what to do, so they've stayed put in the field at the back of the battle. Moving into the centre, the South Carolina went forward and took a disastrous volley from the church fence and legged it back across the creek. Kershaw on the bridge had more success though. He fired into Brewster's men and they routed off the table. Brewster's brigade's now faltering, which is good for the Confederates. Over here, facing the Lightly farm, the Confederates have poured on the fire and pushed those boys up to 6 casualties now. Not much has happened over here, a bit of a stalemate firefight. The Union got the worst of it. Moving across past the barn, the Union skirmish line took another round of canister before they could fall back and destroyed them. So now Ward's brigade is now faltering. Over in the maize patch, Bennings has formed up his 2 Warren units at the rear and is ready to push forward with his units to take on the Tyrrell cavalry. Moving across, the cavalry is falling back to the trees. They're pretty torn up. That should actually come off. Turn. Should be an interesting initiative phase this turn, because Ward's brigade is faltering and coming through to the centre. Brewster's having a mare of a game. His boys are faltering. Carrington's come on with a large mass of troops and guns. They're hopefully going to plug the gap. And then moving across to here, this flank is becoming under increasingly amounts of pressure. Okay, we can see Robinson's brigade on the bottom of turn 8. It's moving down the road. It's masked the guns. These boys here have continued to shoot the guys in the forest there. It's a bit of a mixed bag. Casualties are really building up on the Confederates from those guns on the road. They don't seem to be able to do anything about. Over here you can see they've seen one of the Union regiments off from the fence and they're running back through the camp. The other large regiment's still in pretty good nick and it's dishing out a bit of pain. The Confederate cavalry under Heaton is racing off across the field, but I don't think they're going to get anywhere to do anything meaningful in this battle. And the centre, Kershaw is a bit strung out, but he's coming forward. Luckily for him, Carrington's brigade is stalled on the table edge. They watched Brewster's brigade bug out and they're not really keen to press on. Here the Confederates have moved through the cornfield. They run into the guns on the hill and taken some canister, which they really didn't enjoy. They tried charging in over here, but the Union threw them off again. One of their boys retreating right down the road past the potato patch. Anderson's guns and the guns attached to Bennings have both been hammering the battery on the hill, doing limited casualties. Bennings moved his boys across the maize patch and out the other side, but unfortunately, under fire from the Union cavalry, they've fallen into confusion and are unformed. The Union cavalry continue to give ground. They've been masters of this game. They've taken a few casualties, but they've really held up that other brigade. In the centre, Ward's regained his composure and is pulled back, but he's in a shaky position now. The last unit of Brewster's boys stands faltering on the table edge, and Carrington's men are just crammed up, wanting to come on, but Carrington can't decide where they're going to go. Over here, Graham's still holding, but as pointed out before, some of his labs got whipped and they're going back through the camp. Let's look at the Confederates there, all lined up on the fence line, ready to move forward. And there's a fresh brigade under Robertson coming forward, looking for a victim. Bottom of turn 9. Graham's troops are really feeling the pressure now. The 86th has rallied in the camp, but they're sitting on 13 casualties. The Pennsylvania boys right up to the left there, they're up to 7, but they're facing a couple of relatively fresh Confederate brigades, the 47th and the 4th Alabama there on the fence line. I think it's the Texas boys that have pushed through. They tried to fire at the rallying troops, but lost their discipline. Robertson's first whack at the forest has been repelled, but the Union troops in that little bush area there, they're sitting on 12 casualties now, so this whole brigade's really starting to hurt. The guns did finally eliminate the Confederates slaughtering out in the paddock there, and that's caused Law's brigade to falter, so that might buy them some time. It might herald the collapse of this flank for the Confederates, but they've still got Robertson's fresh brigade there, so it's anyone's game there. Moving across into the Confederate centre, Heaton's cavalry just can't make up their mind where they're going, so they're just going to sit this one out. Kershaw's moving forward. He's facing Carrington's brigade over there, but Carrington is paralysed. He doesn't know where to go, so he needs to kick up the rump. Over here, it's coming apart a bit for Anderson. You can see down here, one of his brigades is whipped and running away. The 11th Georgia is still hanging in there, even though they're on 9 casualties. Over in the cornfield, the Confederates are in a good position, but unfortunately, they're taking a lot of canister from those guns on the hill, and the foremost unit is up to 10 casualties now, so unless they can break that unit that's lining the fence line on the opposite side of the road, they're on 9 casualties. If they can break those, then they can turn that flank. Brewster up there on the hill in the distance, he's a waste of time, that boy. He's got a drinking habit. Over here, we're right through the maize field, but the 2 New York cavalry guys have really dished out a lot of pain here. Perhaps Benning should have gone in with 3 regiments to try and gun these guys down, because in the skirmish formation they seem to be doing very well. Here's a quick look at Ward's brigade. The guns are now worn. They've been taking fire from both Confederate counter battery fire, so they've been worn down, so their guns won't be so effective in shooting now. Brewster, you rascal, stop, get out of the bottle. It's all on you, Carrington. You've got the troops. Can you come forward and save the day for the Union? And again, over here, both centres are looking pretty thin. The guns here are really holding up Graham's flank. Bottom of turn 10. Well. What a big turn. Let's start here on the Confederate right. Law was faltering. He rolled his chest. He rolled a 3, which is withdrawal. He had a re-roll. He got withdrawal again. So all his boys bent back with 1 casualty. That was enough to break the 4th Texas. So they lost the 4th Texas. His whole line's withdrawn. His guns limbered up. And they have moved back. But Robertson saved the day. He went in at the woods and took the woods. And whipped those boys there, routed them, so that's faltered Graham's brigade. They charged on into the guns, but were stopped short, and they fired around in there and disordered the guns. So they're sitting in front of the guns for next turn, but Graham's brigades are in all sorts of trouble. Moving into the Confederate centre, Heaton's finally decided what he needs to do, and that's move the cavalry right down the middle. So he's jumped the fence and heading towards the centre of the Union line. In front of him, the South Carolina are sitting in skirmish mode, still trading shots with the boys in the church over there in the background. Kershaw, looking at Carrington's massive fresh troops, has gone hesitant. They fired some shots into the churchyard and put on a few casualties there. Didn't take any in return. Moving down into the cornfield, and Anderson's brigade. This was a mess. Kershaw's guns opened up on the boys in the crossroads, and they failed their test and ran for it, skedaddled. Over in the cornfield there, everyone opened up on the other side of the road, and that dispersed a Union regiment there, and that whipped the brigade. So there's just a single brigade of Wards left holding the crossroads. Down here, Bennings went hesitant, as did his opposing side, and they just traded shots. You can see the 17th Mississippi lost their fire discipline. Both of them managed to put a couple of casualties on each other, but this has just been an ongoing fight. Bennings wanted to bring up these regiments here to help, but unfortunately, hesitant, you can't do that. There's the boys whipped running up the hill. That's a big test. There's now possibly a big hole in the line there. Brewster brought his last boys forth, but they've got nothing left in the tank. They lost their fire discipline almost immediately. Carrington, Brewster's drinking buddy, he got a re-roll, he rolled double ones. He just doesn't want to do anything. So he's really letting the boys down. Over here, you can see the Union brigade that was in the bushes there on 12 casualties. They're lucky they're a large unit. The 68th New York next to them, they've actually got 13 casualties, so they're nearly spent. And the 105 Pennsylvanian boys, they're on 7. So Graham's brigade is not in good condition. We'll roll up some brigade falter tests for turn 11 and see what happens. Top of turn 11, I think I'm going to call it there. I think it's been an interesting orders phase, and I think we're going to call night, because if we take a quick look here, you can see Law couldn't stop his men from withdrawing. He's still faltering. Come on, boys, have some sort of semblance of order. They've pulled back, added a casualty, and that was enough to melt away another one of his units. So he's withdrawn twice, so he's pulled back right there to the baseline almost. I mean, they have got the cavalry coming through, and Robertson's fresh brigade there. Kershaw is not hesitant anymore, but his brigade is looking pretty ragged. Over here, unfortunately, Anderson had the same issue. He couldn't stop his boys withdrawing, and they've pulled back as well. So they pretty much ran away right at the cusp of this victory. There was really only one beat up regiment to kill, but they just couldn't do it. Over here, Bennings is back in action, but this fight looks like it could drag on for quite some time. On the Union side of the line, Ward managed to rally his boys, so those whip guys should turn around. He hasn't got much left, but he's not facing anything, so you could say he's successfully held the crossroads there. Well done. Brewster's boys, there's only one unit left. They're tuckered out. They've got nothing in the tank, so they're not really much of a threat. They're a couple of points off dying. Never got to see whether Carrington stopped drinking for the whole game. He's still sitting here, but Graham rolled. What did he roll? He rolled a 4, which was hesitant, and I had a re-roll, and I was buoyed up rolling for Ward, so I thought, well, I'll give it another shot, and he rolled withdraw. So one of his units went off the table, and pretty much he's fallen back. So it's pretty much, you can argue about it in the comments, all two of you watch this video, but I would say it's nightfall, and it's no one won this one. It was a slogfest that got both sides nowhere. There you go. I hope you enjoyed that video if you stuck through to part 2. Yeah, I think filming wise, this is quite a good format for a battle this size. It would take far too long to do all the dice rolling. I'm really looking forward to Pickett Charge 2. I mean, this is a great set of rules, but I struggled with the charts a bit compared to GDA 2, where they've smoothed the charts out a lot more, and that game really just screams along. This has a great feel, but like I say, I'm a bit rusty on it, and I did struggle a bit through the game with the charts. There you go. Well, thanks for watching, and I'll maybe catch you in another one. Cheers.